Show me your hands. Show me your hands. Turn around. Turn around. Where's your gun at?
You got hands? You got hands?
You're going to be detained.
Is there anybody else in the house?
There's somebody else in the house. Can I just get my brother?
No, not right now.
So this woman calls herself the perfect neighbor. But on June 2nd, 2023, she shot and killed her neighbor through a locked door. The neighbor's name was Ajike Owens. She was 35 years old, a single mother of 4. The woman who killed her? Susan Lorincz, 58 years old. And she'd been complaining about AJ's kids for years. They lived next door to each other in Ocala, Florida. One of those duplex situations where you share a wall with your neighbor. And Susan? She called the police on AJ's kids constantly. Like constantly. Over and over and over. The kids are too loud. The kids are running. The kids are playing. The kids exist. In one call, Susan literally says, "I have horrible migraines." The children are screaming their full heads off. They're kids. That's what kids do.
Every time I turn around, the kids are always screaming and stuff like that. Someone's throwing stuff at this window. I asked them to move. They refuse to move. It's this constant barrage of stupidity. The dog on the property clearly says no trespassing. I know our children is there.
Now in February 2022, things escalate. Susan claims AJ threw a sign at her and hit her. AJ's version? She picked up the sign and tossed it. Neighbors say the sign didn't even hit Susan. But Susan's terrified of this woman now. Or so she says. And the calls to police keep coming. August 2022. November 2022. December 2022. She's calling about the kids every few months. Then in April 2023, 2 months before the shooting, a deputy basically tells Susan to stop calling about kids playing. He's like, "You don't need to call 911 every time children play outside." Fast forward to June 2nd, 2023. It's around 9 p.m. and AJ's kids are outside playing. According to Susan, the kids are on her property, roller skating, making noise, and she's had enough. So Susan goes outside and confronts the kids. She tells them to get off her property, and according to her, she tells them, "Go get your mother. I don't care." So one of the kids goes and gets their mom, and AJ comes over to Susan's door. And here's where everything goes wrong. AJ is banging on Susan's door. She's yelling. She's angry because Susan just confronted her kids. But AJ is outside. Susan is inside, behind a locked metal door. Susan had already called 911. Police were on their way. They were literally en route. She knew this. But instead of staying away from the door and waiting for police, Susan goes to her bedroom. She gets her gun, a .380 caliber handgun. She comes back to the door, and she fires one shot through the door. One shot, through a locked metal door, and it hits AJ in the chest. AJ's kids were right there. They saw it. They heard the gunshot. They watched their mother fall to the ground. The kids are screaming. They're running door to door, trying to get help, trying to save their mom. Paramedics arrive, but it's too late. AJ dies right there, outside Susan's apartment, in front of her children. For kids, ages 3, 7, 9, and 12, just watch their mother get shot and killed. Police arrest Susan, and at first, she's not even charged with murder. Because of Florida's Stand Your Ground law. In Florida, if you're in your home and you feel threatened, you can use deadly force, even if the person isn't actually trying to get in. During interrogation, detectives give Susan a notepad, and she writes a note. "I am so sorry for your loss. I never meant to kill your mother." They read it out loud on camera. Susan claims self-defense. She says AJ was aggressive, that she was banging so hard the door was shaking, that she feared for her life. She says she thought AJ was going to break down the door and attack her. But here's the thing. The door was locked. It was a metal door. AJ didn't have a weapon. She was unarmed. The community is outraged. Protests start. People are demanding justice for AJ. This becomes national news. And eventually, prosecutors charge Susan with manslaughter with a firearm. Not murder. Manslaughter. Because they don't think they can prove she intended to kill AJ. But they can prove she acted recklessly. Susan's trial starts in August 2024, and the prosecution's case is pretty straightforward. Susan was safe inside her home. Police were on the way. She didn't need to shoot. She chose to. And on August 16, 2024, the jury finds Susan guilty. Guilty of manslaughter with a firearm.
The jury find the defendant is guilty of manslaughter.
Sentencing happens in November 2024, and AJ's mother, Pamela, gives a victim impact statement. She talks about her 4 grandchildren, how they're traumatized, how they'll never be the same.
My heart is a little lighter, and we're now on the path of true healing.
The judge says the shooting was completely unnecessary. He says Susan was behind a locked door with police on the way. She had options. She chose violence. And then bam. The judge sentences Susan to 25 years in prison. Now here's what really gets me about this case. AJ Owens should be 37 years old right now. She should be raising her kids, watching them grow up, being their mom. Instead, her 4 children are growing up without her. Because their neighbor, the perfect neighbor, decided that kids playing outside was worth killing someone over. She chose to grab a gun instead of just waiting for police. And now 4 kids don't have a mother. And this case reminds us of something important. Sometimes the most dangerous person isn't a stranger. Sometimes it's the person living right next door. If this case impacted you, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more true crime stories like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one.